Hello. I wanted to make a video showing how to put a convex edge on a knife. This is the Coarse AD10 and it comes with a V edge, and I tried to leave it on there, but I'm not skilled enough to really maintain that V edge very well without a lot more training. And I really like the convex edge, and I feel like I don't really have enough of a reason to really invest that much time into learning how to put a V edge on if it's still not like I don't like how it really handles. Right off the bat, sorry about that cut. I might wrap it up. I know how to make sharp knives, sharp convex knives. So yeah, let me wrap that up quick and then we'll get back to it. Okay, so I'm not going to try to sell you on the convex edge. If you're watching this, I'm sure you want to know how to do it. So let's go over the materials needed. So you could do with less than this, but this will help you do a really good setup every time. Coarse, medium, fine. I have more stones, you might too, but I like to do a lot of the work on the coarse, sure it up on the medium, and then really get it starting to mirror on the fine. The other thing you need is a strop. I have two. The green is a standard compound and the red is a polishing compound, so a finer compound. So you can do everything you need on the green here, but I like to have this to just kind of give it a good once over. When you think it's all done, I like to use this to just do just a little bit extra. So I like you only need the green, but I like to have two. So you have we're really working on this one, and this is just so you're finishing up. So we need to start somewhere. So what we have to start on the coarse with a V edge. A lot of people explain it as cutting. You want to cut the top layer of the stone off, so you're repetitively cutting the very top off. That's not how you do convex grinds. You do convex grinds by placing the stone on placing the knife on the stone and rocking it back and forth, and you're using your bone structure to, when it gets closer to you, your wrists lift as they get closer to your shoulder, and as your arms go farther out, so does the blade. It flattens out. Just think about your hands. If you put your hands all the way to your chest, they're going to lift a little bit just because they're getting closer. And if you put them straight out, they get a lot more flat. Like, you're not going to be like that and try to straighten your arms. So you're just using your bone structure to really kind of to hone the blade here, or to sharpen the blade to a convex edge. So with that out of the way, I'm just going to place it on the stone, the knife on the stone. It's a little harder with these studs here, because I like to really get flat. Like, if I have to, I'll do this, but that's just, a lot of knives are like that, and that's just so you can get it open with one hand. So what I'm going to do is, as I go farther away, I'm flat, and as I come here, I'm a lifted up. You see that? Lift it up, flat as I can. I really don't want to gum up these studs, but it doesn't really matter. So that's it. I like to use one hand a lot, and I'll hold the stone like this, but if you have a table, I mean, why not use it? You can usually get a little more accurate that way. So I'm doing is pushing, and I like to keep one or two fingers, I usually do two, on the other side, so I feel like I have control on both sides of the blades. So it's as flat as I can get it. Lift it up. See that? Really hard with that stud. You can easily take this off with a screwdriver. And I feel like I might have to do that. Originally, I wanted to take this thumb stud off, but I don't want to have to take that off every time I want to sharpen this. So what I'm going to do is work around it. And it might be good for you guys to see how I might work around it, and also deal with it, because I want it to have a consistent edge along the whole blade. But I understand why this is here, but yeah, it kind of affects what edge I really wanted for this. But I'm not going to take that off every time I want to sharpen it. So let's see what we can do without it. So you try to get as flat as you can, which is going to scratch these thumb studs up a little bit. And then when you go away and when you go towards you, you pull it until you get a certain angle that you're comfortable with. If it's too high of an angle here, right, you're going to have a rounded blade. So what you're going to do, if you're just starting out with this, is find what works best for you. And I think the less is more, as long as you're just following your bone structure. If your bone structure goes to here, you're not gonna be making good convex knives if you just follow that. But for most people, especially if you keep it farther away, you only lift just a little bit. Push straight, flatten as much as you can. I normally flatten more than this. And dragging as I lift. Dragging as I lift. Pushing as I lower. Dragging as I lift. So, you might be wondering this, or you might be asking, there's still more Knife-Rainger. There's all this. We don't just sharpen this part. Good observation. What we will do is, when you see people turning the blade, it's hard to get consistent with that. If you can get consistent with that, then you are one of very few. So all you have to do is slowly raise the blade, the heel of the knife. That's it. So if I'm here and you look at the edge, see? There's a little gap there. As I slowly lift, I'm not turning. As I slowly lift, every part of the blade actually gets touched. And you see how high I'm lifting this. It's really not that high. You see some people do stuff like this. You're kind of gonna round off the end of the knife like that. So all you have to do is lift it that high and rock and slowly bring it down, and then bring it back up and bring it down. As you see here, I'm lifting the blade. I'm still rocking. Don't stop rocking. And now look, I can see that the tip is touching, so I don't need to go any farther. I don't need to lift the butt up any farther. And now I'm making sure to still rock with my bone structure, and I'm flattening it back down. See that? And then as you get more comfortable, you can speed that process up. So now I think my phone will pick this up. There we go. You can see that this part is starting to convex right here. I can feel it. But you see I'm not hitting right there. And that just has to do with I haven't been doing it long enough, and I want to make sure to keep the butt of the knife up. You can see I'm not getting the heel very much. Okay. I'm just wiping away the grit. I'm not getting the very edge here either. And it's pretty consistent, not getting the edge. Really not getting the edge, really not getting the edge. So I need to rock up a little more, because you can see I'm not getting the actual edge of the knife. We're starting to get it. Starting to get more of the edge. Need to work on right here. There we go. Need to work right here, and you can see how it's not smooth. The V-grind has that kind of liney grind. And you can see that there's no smoothness. Right there, and right there, and a little bit right there. You can see the smoothest stops right there. I'm gonna prop my knife up just a hair, or my stone. This is an older stone. I think I'm wearing the diamonds right off the edge there, so that might be affecting this part. So I'm gonna flip the stone, see if that helps. Not turning, I'm lifting. So that's starting to look consistently convexed. Yeah, that's looking really good on that side. There, if anything at all, there's right there, there's just the slightest bit. But again, we're reprofiling on this. This is not where we nitpick. So that's a really good convex edge right there. Okay. So, also, if you've ever done V-edge sharpening, you'll know that there's a wire that you're going to want to feel for here. That's less important to me. And a lot of the time, I don't really even feel for a wire until I am doing the stropping. And some of that is like I'm continually inspecting the edge, making sure I can see, like, is there any imperfections, giving a different light. Sometimes I use a flashlight to really brighten it up. See that? It might not show up. You can see there's a couple parts, one right there and one right there, where it seems like a little more work could be done. But I'm going to get those out in the next step. So this is just the reprofiling step. Okay, so now I am not very good at switching hands. I know it probably wouldn't be that hard for me to get, but I just feel like something's wrong. I feel like I'm not going to be able to hold that. So I actually go with the handle of the knife on the right side of the stone every time, whether I'm doing this side or whether I'm doing this side. Okay, so it's the same thing, but now I kind of position my body a little lower, and I focus on kind of going out and straight. So I'm pushing down, and as I'm straightening my arms, they lift towards my shoulder level. So that's how I get that same angle of flat here and then lifted there. Is that same thing where I'm using my bones, not muscle memory, because muscle memory is terrific, but when you have to memorize that movement, and getting to muscle memory a lot of the time it just takes a lot of practice and a lot of failure. So I like doing this because you're relying more on your bones, and you will get more muscle memory, but you don't have to suck at the beginning. So I'm going to flat here and lift at the end. Pull to flat, lift at the end. Okay? Making sure I get the entire flat part. When I'm ready to go to this part, guess what? Lift, 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 and there you can see them right on the tip. Okay? So I don't need to go any higher than this. Okay? So it's the same thing. Occasionally you'll see me stop. I'm just making sure my tip is there. I'm not too hard on the tip. Just making sure. So still more work to do. Make sure I'm focused here. There's still more work to do right where that light is touching. And right here, and maybe a little bit right there. It's just a lot of work to still do. I just started, so. More work to do. Let's see if it's, yeah, a little more work to do right there. See that? How it reflects black in the certain lights. I think I have maybe some inconsistent wobbling that's making some reflections happen here. See that? But again, I care more about the shape and making sure that my angle is not way too harsh here. Like the edge goes all the way up to here, and on this side, it's right there. Like I want to make sure that everything's looking pretty balanced, which it pretty much does. I just need a little bit more shaping here. Okay. It's not pretty, but it's in the right shape. And now we can make it pretty. So, how do we do that? I'm going to move my strops and go to my next stone. And right now, I could strop on here and make this pretty sharp. It would just take a lot more time, and to speed that up, like this is doing, the strop is doing very similar work that a stone is doing. It's just a lot finer, and it can kind of bend and warp. It's not as rigid because it is leather, but different topic. I'm going to do more profiling right here on the medium grit. One thing I wanted to mention is that you will feel the stone getting smoother as you go, and that the reason for that is because you're not necessarily cutting parts out that are kind of sticking away from the grind that you desire. You're more just like riding the grind at that point. So that's one way when you're just beginning to say, okay, I think I'm done with this stone, is very smooth. You can already also see I'm getting some mirroring right here and here, a lot of mirroring actually, like a significant amount of mirroring. I've been doing this for like 10 minutes. So I'm just going to shore that up, especially on that tip here. You can see that is not mirrored at all. Feels really smooth on this part, and then as I go here, less smooth, a little lifted if you couldn't tell, more lifted, still not very smooth, but getting there. If you're having a harder time, and you can see I still didn't get the tip, I just need to lift a little more. See that? Mirrored bit. Still need to, if you're having a hard time, I like one thing that helped me starting out is a little less weight when I'm pushing and more weight as I'm dragging in. Drag, lift. It's just easier to pull towards you than to push away with pressure. So if you're having a hard time getting the shaping, I like to push and then really apply pressure as I drag. I don't do that all the time, but it just like sometimes if my hands are getting tired and I feel like I'm maybe not be getting the best angle, I'll just start dragging, not focused on the pushing as much. But the push is more of a reset to get you at that starting angle. And you do apply, like the blade is running across it, so it technically is, sharpening it as well. It looks like I've gotten about, make sure this is in focus. You can see it's mirroring already just on a medium. So we can already see it mirroring. See that? There's some smaller parts like right here where you can see it's a little raggedy. So I'm just going to go over a little bit more. That is pretty good. Not perfect. I can see right there, there's a little bit of work that needs to be done to really mirror it. But again, this isn't the mirroring stone. That's not the point of this. This is kind of refinement of the first step. Ignore that. So we have a pretty good edge here, convexed. I feel like maybe just need a little schmidt more there, and then I'll be ready to go to the next stone. So I will say that will probably already cut pretty good. Obviously not mirrored there, but it's the right shape. I can feel it. What I do sometimes, if I mean, you can visually inspect it, I will put my thumb on the blade, not up, just put it on the blade like this, and then roll it down, and you'll feel it be very smooth and not. If I did this before, it would be like I would feel that lot drop off a lot more because it's not rounded. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing that we did to this side with the same form as before on the more coarse stone. In the opposite this way, you know how when I was on this way, I would kind of push out and then drag it. If I need a little more control, I do the opposite. I pull it towards me and push while I lift. That's just if I really want to like feel how the grit feels, feel how the stone feels. When I'm really rocking it, that's not that much pressure. I'm just kind of letting the weight of my hand do this. Do the weight. I'm not really pushing down. The only time I ever would push down a little more is when I pull it towards me and I'm pushing it while lifting, or I'm pulling it. That's the only time I'm applying more pressure. And one reason for that is you can really feel if there's anything catching on the stone when you're applying more pressure, but you don't want to do that right off the bat. You can see that there's mirrored parts right here especially. It's not perfect. There's imperfection right there where it's not mirrored, but I'm just going for refinement. I think that's good enough. Looks pretty refined to me. I don't feel for a wire at this point usually, but you might feel like, okay, what side? And so basically what I'm feeling for is if I do this and there's a little catch, and I do that on the same part of the blade, on the other side there's no catch. No catch. See that? Well, you don't. Very little catch when I'm rolling. By catch I mean like it feels like there's nothing there. Okay, but I do the same part, exact same part. If I put a Sharpie here, I would try to line it up, and now I feel a little more catch. Then I know this side would need more work to push that little bit of steel. You want it to be at a perfect point at the tip, right? So if there's a little bit of steel, like if this is your blade, okay, it's kind of like that. If you feel a grip here when it's pushing. So what you're trying to do is keep going side to side to side so it's perfect. But again, I don't feel for that yet. I feel that more when I'm stropping. And there's been some times where I can't strop it out very quickly, so then I'll go back to a stone. But for what I do, I go through the stones. And then I visually inspect, and when I think it's good, go to the next stone. So we've been through the medium. And now it's time for the fine. So what you might wonder is why I keep taking the stone out. That's an older habit. For a lot of my other knives, you can't sharpen in these, and it sucks. But that actually doesn't appear to be an issue with this knife, so I'm going to leave the stone in the holder for this. Oh, yes it is. See? I'm going to show you here. See that? First off, the thumb stud grips, but if you don't, then this shoulder of the knife right here, that gets caught on the blade. You see that? Or on the stone. So that's what I was talking about. Okay, so the thumb stud shouldn't get in the way, right? Because you want to lift over it. But then you can see there's just a little bit of blade that it can't reach. So that's why I take it out of the case usually. You gotta be careful because these are ceramic. You can see it's very mirrored at this point. There's some little areas like right where my fingernail is where it's not, but we're going for a lot more mirrored at this point. Not perfect. A lot more mirrored. So it looks pretty good. There's some shmoo in my thumb that I keep putting back on the blade when I'm trying to wipe it off. Maybe right there where my fingernail is, there's a tiny thing that reflects weird. Right there on the edge. See that? Right there. I think that shows up. So still not perfect. Right there. You can see it right here. So you might see that there's some streaks on here, like of mirrored streaks. See that? That's a good shot right there. That's pretty much the best you can get on a fine stone before you get into like the really, really fine stuff. And that's why we have strops. Okay, so you see that, how it kind of looks like maybe like hay or like grass. I couldn't tell it. Can't think of the best word for it. Just lines. That's as mirrored as I think I'm going to get here without doing this for like an hour. The main thing is just making sure that everything is convexed, right? And now I'm going to do this side. So I'm also, pretty obvious, but I'm wiping this shmoo off the edge so I can inspect it. The only thing I can maybe see right where that light reflection is. There's a little mark right there, like very small, very nitpicky. But you'll see stuff like that. You can still get those out. You don't have to quit just yet. You can still get those out. So that did a pretty good job. I still see a tiny little thing there. See that? Still going to work on it, but the rest of the blade looks good to go. One reason why I spin the stone occasionally is if I see a lot of buildup on this side of the stone, that might be stopping me from getting that last part I need worn off. See that? So now I see there's a lot more white that I can clean the blade with here. I can touch that a little better. That's pretty good. Again, it could be done more perfectly. I mean, you'd be here for another couple hours. But as far as I can see, you can see it really kind of reflects that light. Let me get a dim light here. You can see how the light, need a little more brighter. You can see how the blade shines all along that edge. That's what you want. So you know it's at least convexed and that it's at least pretty smooth. So at this point, This is Stropping time. If you only have one strop, you can get a pretty good edge. I like to, for reasons I stated earlier. But I strop differently than a lot of people I've seen. A lot of people I've seen either do this, which I'm sure is fine, or this, which I'm sure is also fine. I couldn't get a consistent edge with that, and I kind of tried a few different things, and I found one that really worked for me. So you place the blade like you're going to sharpen it, and just like I said about the pulling, I'm going to pull as I lift up until the point where I normally would. And you can already see that one. See that edge? That's all. Remember all the lines? They're not there. And the reason for that is a lot of the time you do this, there's no real pressure. So you're not letting the abrasives really dig and cut. But if you apply pressure like this, and I'm pushing down hard like I'm pushing, then it will bite into that edge right away. You don't need to sit here and strop for an hour. So this is where it differs from the actual sharpening stones. If you lift, it will start dragging and cutting into your stone. I don't know if, hopefully you can see that. If you lift, okay, like you're doing, like you were sharpening and you lift, it will cut right into your stone, or right into your strop, right there. See that line? I didn't want to leave a huge one, but that would be another one where I lifted. See that? And probably that. So the secret is, this is where you actually turn, and then you lift up until you pull back, and you're just going along the edge and lifting as you get closer to you. That's the secret for the way I strop. I still need to get some here. You can see it's not as smooth right here, right there. If you see me holding it with my thumb, it's strictly because this is pretty slippery. More work. A little bit more work right there. You can see right there where there's just parts that aren't smooth, and I just want to get that all out before I progress. Also, you can see on the tip, I'm not getting a full coverage there either. You don't want to lift too high, because then you're going to start at a micro level rounding off your edge, right? You don't want that. So don't lift too high, but if you're seeing you're not getting the coverage you need, then you need to lift just a little bit higher. It's the same angle that you were sharpening with, but sometimes it's harder because you're just doing different kind of movements here. You can see right at the end there, there's like a secondary little spot that needs to really get stropped right there. I'm having trouble hitting that. It's a little bit due to this finger. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm still going to do it for just another minute. But you can see right on the edge, there's some not incredibly shiny part, and the edge is the part you want to be shiny. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to move on to the other side. Again, I'm just going to use the light really quick. You can just see how mirrored that edge is. See that with the reflections? Not the most perfect, but just the way it is. Right now, I would usually use 2, but I don't sharpen outside usually, so I'm just gonna hold and try to mimic the same motions, but I would just do this, okay? But it's hard with this thing kind of moving on me. You can put these on the bottom of any stone or anything and it'll stay. It should be mentioned that here, if you just want to get the very edge, a lot of the time I start a lot more of a harsh angle, like almost flat, and then I lift up. You can't do that with a thumb stud. So sometimes, I'll do like this normally, but sometimes if I really want to just get like one pass on there, I'll do this. You don't want to do that too much, but just if you're cleaning up like a small imperfection. Like there's a small imperfection right there. Very good. So, at this point, I actually feel if there's any side that doesn't feel rounded, if there's any real harsh catching, nothing major there. I feel like maybe there I feel it catching on my fingerprints. Like barely. Maybe right there. A lot more there than anywhere else. So I'm going to keep wanting to strop this side. That is a sharp blade. You can see that. You can maybe even see me in there if I put my head in the right angle. This side too, very, very sharp. The only thing I can see that I don't love is just that right here. It's still very sharp, but you can see that part where you can't see that in the reflection. You see that? You can see that little dot right there. So, okay, and there you see just a hair too. So that looks pretty good. Now, again, I'm going to feel any gripping. Maybe just the slightest right here. Maybe, barely. I still feel like maybe I need a little bit there. I feel like that's very good. You could be totally done here, okay? There's very, very sharp edge with no side having a wire on it. I'm gonna not shave my arm to prove that it's sharp. I'll go get a piece of paper. Girlfriend doesn't like all the random lacks of hair on my arm that just stick out. So I'm going to take it one little step further, okay? It's very sharp. I can feel it. Very sharp knife. One step farther, though, is another strop of another level. So this really isn't doing much, but at a very small level, it's taking just the tiniest little steel off, making sure that it's actually a point rather than any side having like a rollover on it. And now if you do have any issues, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb here. I feel like maybe there's not like the most perfect edge in the world, but again, look, like you can see my phone camera on the reflection all the way to the tip. the sharper I get, the less I do that with my thumb to clean the edge. So let's see here. Maybe a little bit more on the tip. That's about all I can see. You'll sometimes see me doing that with the strop like this. That is if there's any shmoo on the tip, or maybe I feel like there's a little roughness there, I'll just lightly drag it over the strop to rub that off. So I feel like this side needs a little more polishing, or the rounded part of the blade. So I'm gonna go get some paper and we'll see how sharp she is. So we have our paper. Let me move this. Hard to do it in front of the camera here. That's sharp. Very sharp. If you didn't believe me the first two times. She's sharp. At this point, one thing you might do, and I didn't feel like, if anything, maybe here on the blade. One good thing about paper testing is if you're going here and it catches right there every time, and no matter what, it's razor sharp and it catches, you'll know that you need to strop right there on both sides. But I'm not feeling any real imperfection, and you can't do that on a dull blade. Trust me. It's sharp. So I hope that helped. If you have any questions, just comment or maybe watch the video. I feel like watch the video again. I feel like I probably addressed everything, but maybe not. I probably missed a lot. But that's how I do it, and that's how I get very sharp blades. And even with this big bad thumb stud in here, don't be afraid to scuff it too much. You see, I sharpened it, I shined it up right there. See that? Because these are replaceable. These are very replaceable. It just sucks that I usually would have gone for a lot harsher angle if I didn't have these studs in the way. Like I would have flattened it a lot more, and it really would have been the shine would have started a lot higher, like here maybe. Would have been a very, very sharp knife, but it already is. So, and it's not perfect. That's how you sharpen a knife with a convex edge on stones. So quickly, I want to go over exactly what I have, because I've seen a lot of videos where they say just do this, bang, and then you have to watch 30 more videos to see what you should buy. When I picked this up, I could have swore I grabbed my my coarse stone, okay, but I didn't. This is actually a fine stone. This is the DMT Dia Sharp Fine, and a fine side is that way, if you couldn't tell. This is a diamond stone, which means it's just metal, and they applied diamond to it. They like electroplated this with diamond or something. So it's just like a diamond saw blade. There's just very microscopic dots of diamonds on here. So what that does for you is it allows you to cut steels very easily, and not just steels, but like premium steels. So It doesn't matter if you have the best, like a Rex 121 knife, right? I'm sure it matters a little bit. This would be a little slower, but this can cut anything. Whereas there might be some whetstones that you'll be going all day and it won't really cut. Or on these, which I'll tell you in a minute, they don't cut nearly as fast. So I like using diamond stones for the coarse stones because one is I don't like using whetstones that much. One reason is I'm just nervous about rust, so I don't like, even for a short time, introducing water to my knives. And a lot of people like them, and I know that they can make some amazing edges. I don't use them. You can use them and be happy. Another reason is if there's water and you're not on a fixed blade, you're on a folder. Now you're able to introduce water into this lock, which you can't wipe off without taking apart your knife. So I like to just keep it dry or use oil stones. So with diamond stones, you don't need to soak them or anything. Okay. So this is what I use to profile it, which is actually the Fine by DMT. I use this one and their Coarse stone, and they look so similar that I grabbed the Fine, and they both work. The Fine just has bigger diamonds on there, like bigger chunks on here, so it just cuts even faster. But this cut fast enough. This always cuts fast enough. So if you want to use exactly what I used, this is the Dia Sharp Fine. I really like the Coarse as well. If one's on sale, get it. Or you can get both. The one, I'll just say it, the one downfall to diamond stones is they wear out. You can see there might be, that doesn't help. On the edge right here, you can see that it doesn't, why is it a different color, right? And right here too, that is, as to my knowledge, the actual diamonds rubbing off and just the steel under shining through, which is not good. And what happens is it stops cutting, and then you'll have hot spots here where you're like, okay, well, this part will cut and this part won't. Usually what happens is just right in the middle here. Oh, just right in the middle here where you can start seeing it wear off. But these won't last you your lifetime. They'll cut very good, and the benefit is that these don't last that long, but they can cut anything, and they really do last an okay amount of time. But they really won't last forever. And it's just a tool that you use to sharpen other tools. So that's the downfall. That's the downside. Again, I'll probably replace this when this one wears out, just because I like them so much, and you can reprofile very quickly. So Dia Sharp Fine. Now the Spyderco stone. This is the medium grit ceramic. So they all come with this case, and I'm not a huge fan of the case, but I'm glad it comes with a case because most don't. Very dirty. But again, you do not need to soak this, and in fact, I'm pretty sure it says not to. The other benefit with this stone, the ceramic and the diamond stone, is they don't like dish out. So you won't have to flatten your stone. Whereas if you have a whetstone, as you know, you're going to need to take like a diamond stone to one of your stones and actually flatten it out as you're wearing it through. This ceramic stone will, like, they pretty much last forever. Like they don't really dish out. And I've used this stone a heck of a lot, and that looks pretty straight to me. They don't dish out. They're a lot slower than a diamond stone, but I kind of like that because you can now take your time, right? And really put a lot of work in and get it exactly as sharp as you want it and not more. Because you might do too much on one side with the diamond stone and now you have to do the other side to match, right? So that's why I like ceramic. And I also like ceramic, I don't know if I said this, run them dry. Run them dry. I don't need any oil or water. The downfall or the downsides with ceramic stones, if I dropped it from like this high, this stone would be in like 4 pieces. So you have to, once it's down, you're good to go. But once it's up, if you're transporting this or anything, it's like holding an egg. Like you got to be careful because if it drops at all, it's done. That's just kind of part of the game, right? The other thing that's bad about these is they get incredibly dirty, incredibly quick. All right, clean part of my see that? They hold a lot of metal bit on there from the knives. Whereas with diamond stones, when you're using it, it'll kind of push off. It'll like there's no real pores, right? So once you're sharpening, it'll keep pushing it off. See? And you can see if there is any marks on here, I can usually, if there's any actual powder, I can just rub it off with my hand. So that's that. So this is the ceramic whetstone from Spyderco, the medium grit. This gums up a lot. All you have to do is clean it. Watch videos. You can just use soap and water usually. The last one is the same stone as this, but the fine grit. They have 3 different grits. They have the medium, the fine, and the super fine. They're all very good. But that's what I used. 2 Spyderco stones, diamond stone, and then these 2 strops that I made myself in my basement. So if you want a strop and you don't want to make them, which I feel like it was a fun experience to make them, and I made them big. You can see that. A lot of strops are going to be like a third of this, like that wide, and probably only like that long, right? I just wanted a bigger strop, more surface area. I can practice whatever. But any strop will really do. There is a brand from Outdoors 55's brand. Looking it up. Got it. So Knife Point Gear. I bought this before I made any strops, and it's a very good strop. I just wanted to make my own too. And one reason I wanted to make my own is because there's different compounds that I wanted to use. These are both, the ones I've made are both chromium oxide. I just typed in green compound on YouTube or on Amazon and just applied it. The strop I got, it's from Knife Point Gear. I think it's knifepointgear.com or something like that. Really good strop. You want the kind of the rough side up on all your strops generally. It holds compound better, and it feels better on the knife. Like it feels like you can kind of really apply it and actually get results. So the reason I'm showing you this is if you don't want to make strops, I've seen some sharpening videos and they're like, and I just made these. Sometimes you might not want to make one. This is a good strop. It's just a plain strop from Knife Point Gear. And you might be asking, if I have such a good strop, why did I make more? Well, I wanted different compounds. This is a diamond shmoo compound that they sell on the site. But I wanted to try different compounds out. And the diamond compound is pretty expensive because there's diamonds in it. So I watched this guy, it's Outdoors 55. And I wanted to support him, so I bought his strop. But then he made videos on how to make strops, and I figured, hey, let me just try it. What's the worst thing that can happen? I can always buy more of these. And I wanted to make bigger strops for my, like my work table, so I can really like apply more pressure, get all the blade, have to do less strokes. So I'm glad that I watched that video and he showed how to make it. But the reason I have 3 is because this is probably the finest compound I have. This is the second finest. This is polishing, and this is just standard green compound. These two might be mixed up. I really don't know the microns for this one or this one off the top of my head. But I have 3 for different purposes. If I had to, I would probably go this, or this. It just, I kind of whatever my hands grab at the moment. But these are really good. Diamond compound cuts a lot faster than chromium oxide compounds. But this is just a tiny micron one too, so I really don't know which one's sharper. But I have 3, and I felt like making them, and I found one that came with green and red compound, so why not? So that's what I have. So I'd recommend if you want a coarser stone, look at DMT's either Coarse. There it is. DMT's either Coarse or Fine, just for doing kind of the brunt of the reshaping or getting those chips out. And then I would get the 2 Spyderco stones from Spyderco. The super fine is also very nice. But these 2, medium, fine. And then get a strop or 2, and get any strop you have. You can get them on Amazon, anywhere. But I really like Knife Point Gear's stuff, and you're helping a guy that really likes knives. So this, if you don't want to make anything, I'd recommend this totally. And then like a green and a red, or just a green, because you saw how sharp it got after the green. So that's what I have, and that's kind of like a good setup to get your knives stupid sharp.